Hi, everyone. Judge Andrew Napolitano here for Judging Freedom. Today is Monday, February 24th, 2025. Larry Johnson is here with us on what's with Zelenskyy offering to resign? What's the catch? But first, this.
Markets are at an all-time high. Euphoria has set in. The economy seems unstoppable, but the last administration has buried us so deep in debt and deficits, it's going to take a lot of digging to get us out of this hole. Are you prepared? Lear Capital specializes in helping people like me and you grow and protect our wealth with gold. Did you know that during Trump's last presidency, gold rose 54% to a record high? If that happens again, that puts gold at $4,200 an ounce in his next term. Don't wait. Do what I did. Call Lear at 800-511-4620 or go to LearJudgeNap.com for your free gold ownership kit and special report, $4,200 gold ahead. When you call, ask how you can also get up to $15,000 in bonus gold with a qualifying purchase. Call 800-511-4620, 800-511-4620, or go to LearJudgeNap.com and tell them the judge sent you.
Larry, welcome here, my dear friend, and thank you as always for your time. I said to McGovern this morning, it seemed like just a few minutes ago that the three of us finished on Friday afternoon.
Yeah. As we get older, time flies quicker.
Correct, and there is so much for us to talk about. I do want to talk to you about Zelenskyy, but before we get there, Alistair Crook opined this morning that Europe is in chaos, certainly among the elites. Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. So let's do a thought experiment. If the news tomorrow reports that Donald Trump's support, that he only has 28% support, would that be viewed as a negative, as a disaster? Well, of course. Yet, yesterday, Germany had elections, and the winning party got 28.5% of the vote. So, when is getting basically a quarter of the vote winning? It's not winning. And so what you wind up with is just a fragmented mess. And it's not unique to Germany. It's that way in almost every country in Europe, with the exception, I think, of Hungary. Hungary is one of the few that they actually had a majority vote for Orban. But everybody else is in minority status. And so how do you cobble together any kind of policy that's got popular support when you're so fragmented and broken up?
In the case of Germany, it's particularly difficult. Friedrich Merz, the likely new chancellor, or the person who will be designated by the president of Germany first to form a government, will either have to form a government with the AfD, the true conservatives, whom he says he despises and doesn't want to deal with, or with the Christian Democrats who've destroyed German economy.
Yeah, though he will not align with the AfD or the AfD, as it's called, Alternative for Deutschland. He views them as more of an enemy than he views Russia. Think about that.
Wow.
The hatred he has towards them is profound.
And isn't he? I don't know where this is going to go, Larry. Isn't he pro-war?
Oh,
isn't he in favor of Germany aiding Ukraine?
Hell, he would have sent Taurus missiles already. Again, these guys are indulging a fantasy. I saw earlier today a clip with Ursula von der Leyen, von der Leyen, but von der Leyen. And she was talking about, Russia's being ravaged with inflation. Russia's economy is in tatters. They're losing the war. This chick is so divorced from reality. You got to wonder, what is she? And she used to be the opposition to Friedrich Merz, but now here we find that both von der Leyen and Merz are on the same page. There is no rational adult leadership anywhere in Europe right now.
Does Merz acknowledge, as far as you know, or has he acknowledged that the United States destroyed the Nord Stream pipeline and the Germans just stood there and let it happen. And the government of Chancellor Scholz just stood there and let it happen. In fact, Scholz stood next to Biden when he boasted about it.
No. The only thing Biden lacked at that press conference was having like a collar on with a chain attached, to have Schultz in his submissive position. No, I mean, Mertz hasn't acknowledged that. The reality is destroying that pipeline has hurt Germany. Now, Germany's economy is in trouble, and it was anticipated that it was going to have a much more dramatic decline. The manufacturing industry is actually cratering. It's way down, the lowest compared to, say, Spain, England, France. It's lost more capability. But so far, you've not had the kind of widespread public suffering that would come from economic chaos. Part of that is the government's been able to continue to provide, to fund, send people money every month. And so that's mitigated the suffering. And frankly, it's out of suffering that you're going to get some unity. And the Germans just haven't suffered enough yet. And so they've gone along with this, kiss your sister moment, where the winner is Mertz with 28% of the vote, and the group that comes in second, AfD, with around 20%. They're going to be excluded from government, and so you're going to wind up with a patchwork quilt. And the economy, what has really changed is before, Germany used to have a good, strong relationship with Russia in terms of exporting automobiles, exporting turbines, and other sophisticated machinery to Russia. Russia was happy with that relationship. That's over now, and Russia's not importing those. Russia started to make those things itself, things that it used to buy from Germany. So that relationship's never going to come back to normal.
It's not going to normalize if Merz is in favor of war. Now, maybe there'll be no war for him to be in favor of if Trump and Putin cut a deal, a grand deal, when they meet, I think, in May in Moscow, or maybe even sooner in Saudi Arabia.
Well, look, Merz can be in favor of war, but the German army is a disaster. As bad as the Brits are, the Germans are even more chaotic. They don't even have enough rifles and ammunition to arm their own soldiers, their own active duty soldiers. So, what are they going to do for Ukraine? Maybe they kick them a few Taurus missiles, and then, those are going to get shot down. But it also opens up the way for creating a possible casus belli where, Russia would retaliate against Germany. Oh. So, I mean, Merz is just, he's talking out of a part of his body not normally used for vocal expressions.
Right. McGregor thinks that Mertz can't last more than 6 to 10 months.
I think Doug's right.
In office. As we speak, the president of France is meeting with President Trump, and on Thursday, the Prime Minister of Great Britain is scheduled to meet. What leverage do they have with Trump?
Zero. So let's start with, before Macron, there was Duda, out of Poland, the Prime Minister. Trump kept him cool in his heels for about an hour and 30 minutes, and then welcomed Duda into the office. They had an 11-minute chat. Hey, Duda, good to see you, buddy. Hey, have a nice day. Pat on the rear end, sends him out. Let's call it the parade of the irrelevance. France, what's it good for? They got some good wines, good champagne. But Trump's not a drinker, so that's not going to sway him. Their military, it's on a good day, it's mediocre and really brings nothing to the table. They could swing the conflict in the favor of Ukraine.
Could France credibly offer to spend 5% of its budget on NATO, which is what Trump has demanded, or on its own defense, if not on NATO?
Oh, they could. They'd probably really stress out the financial situation as government, but it's not going to make any difference. I mean, you combine, take the United States out of the equation, and you put all of the European countries that are in NATO and combine all their armies. They don't even match the size of the Russian army in its current form. And the difference being the Russian army is now combat trained. They're combat veterans. The Europeans, they haven't won a war. I mean, they in recent memory, can't credit them with winning World War II. The French were tag-alongs on that, and the Brits as well. It wasn't British resources that turned the course of the war. It was the United States. But the defeat of Nazis was done by the Russians, not the Western Allies. Western Allies helped. So it's just what we're coming up against now. What is the EU good for? What is Europe good for? Other than a nice place to go on vacation, or used to be, except now some of the major cities are so populated with homeless and others that they're dangerous. But they don't have any major natural resources. They're not major producers of food that the rest of the world depends upon. Now, all there are, the UK has been sort of a financial center. That's it.
Back to Prime Minister Starmer. What leverage does he have?
Oh, boy.
He's going to invite the president to have dinner with King Charles.
Yeah, I'm sure that's high on Trump's list, hanging out with those two. Look, Starmer comes in with the deck stacked against him. He sent his own campaign workers to the United States to meddle in the U.S. presidential election on behalf of Kamala Harris. Can you imagine the reaction of the world if Vladimir Putin had sent members of his political organization to the United States to campaign for Donald Trump? Think that would have gone over? Oh, hell no. So here's Starmer having done that. And then on top of it is the role that the Brits play, British intelligence, in perpetuating Russiagate and trying to destroy Trump even before he got into office in 2016, and then continuing to collaborate with U.S. intelligence in that effort to undermine Trump. So Trump's he's got no time for Starmer. If nothing else, he may just be bringing him in to humiliate him. But there's nothing that Starmer's going to say or do where Trump will go, oh, gee, I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, let's consider that. No.
So is it your view that barring some sort of a cataclysm, I don't even know what it would be, the Trump 180-degree change for the better on Ukraine and the Vance admonition of mind your own houses has caused radical and irreversible, at least in the near future, change between the United States and Europe?
Yeah, no, it's altered the relationship, and as it should, because this dependency on Europe that the United States has shown by we've got several military bases still active in Germany, and this is 80 years after the end of the war. We need to shut those down and come home. We got no business still being there. It's part of our let's call it our new imperial legacy. But the European countries are adrift, and they don't even agree amongst themselves. You saw Macron convened a hasty summit of his what he would call his best friends in Europe with Starmer and Schultz, and I believe the Poles were there. Maloney showed up late out of Italy, and they couldn't agree. They fought amongst themselves, in terms of supporting Ukraine. So Macron was going to have another summit, and it may have already taken place. That hasn't ended any better either. So now Starmer shows up with his plan that he's going to send British troops. I'm sure Trump will say, hey, great idea, go for it. But if you get in trouble, you get attacked, we're not coming to your rescue. You're on your own.
At one point, and it was since January 20th, so while I was in the White House, Trump mused aloud about cutting the defense budget in half.
Yeah.
Pete Hegseth has offered 50 billion reduction over the next 10 years. That's absurd. Can't we just close the 800 bases we have around the world? I mean, the defense budget, listen to this, according to Niall Ferguson, Professor Ferguson at Stanford, the defense budget last year was 846 billion. The Defense Department spent 1.1 trillion. Mm-hmm. So they're 200 billion over budget. They need a radical reduction. I don't know if Trump will get that out of his Republican buddies in Congress, because they're dependent on the military-industrial complex for their campaigns. Am I right?
Oh yeah, no, they're all bought and paid for. This is, this. I'm amused every time we hear this. The charges of this government overseas is corrupt. That government, Russia's corrupt. Ukraine's corrupt. Hey, we're the king of corruption in this country. We're a lot better at hiding it and not being as ostentatious about it. But when you consider the fact that right now, the military budgets of Russia and China combined are 1/3 of that of the United States.
Right. What do you make of the offers over the weekend? Well, actually, I'll play it for you. President Zelenskyy, Chris, cut number 1.
If it's about peace in Ukraine and you really want me to leave my position, I am ready to do that in exchange for peace. Secondly, I can exchange it for NATO membership if there is such an opportunity. I'll do it immediately without a long conversation about it. I am focused on Ukraine's security today and not in 20 years. I don't plan to be in power for decades.
I mean, should this be taken seriously, or is it so what?
Well, he is going to be forced out. It remains to be seen whether it will be, somebody will persuade him and say, look, you need to resign and restore constitutional order to Ukraine and hold new elections. That would be the optimal way for Zelenskyy to bow out without being carried out feet first, covered with a sheet. He really doesn't have any good options. So the question is, how bad does he want to live? If he wants to live, survive, and get into his old age, then he's going to have to vacate the office and seek asylum, safe haven, someplace, whether it's France or the United States. Now, his chances of winding up in the United States, I've heard he's got property over at Vero Beach, which is just the opposite side of the state of Florida for me. He may want to tone down his rhetoric about Donald Trump, because Trump will pull his visa. But the bigger problem I think Zelensky's going to have, I fully expect him to be facing criminal charges for fraud in the United States for the money that he has stolen, U.S. taxpayer money that he's stolen, and that it's made its way into banks in the Caribbean.
Wow. Interesting observation, Larry. Can the Musk team audit the intelligence community effectively?
Probably not. They will hide behind that they don't have the proper clearances. But I think some of the AI technology, the artificial intelligence technology that Doge is using to track money flows, they can certainly start following some of the CIA money, because they may have stumbled across some of it in their shutting down of USAID, because we now know that somewhere over the last 20, 25 years, a lot of the CIA covert action that used to be contained in-house got out of the house and was crossed over into some public groups like USAID, where they were actively used to rent crowds and fund color revolutions. And you notice what's happened, that the kinds of pressures we were seeing, say, in Serbia in Georgia. These have died, and in Romania, these have died off, and that's because the money spigot was turned off.
I mean, can Musk's people find out how much money the CIA spent to bribe foreign officials, or as you say, to rent fake crowds?
It's unlikely that they'll try. Congress again has oversight of this, but they've gone along with allowing the CIA, to carry out operations that, frankly, don't serve the interests of the United States. Our promotion of this perpetual war machine has I would argue, really hurt us, and it's hurt our security, not enhanced it.
Larry Johnson, thank you, my dear man. Always a pleasure. Thank you for the double duty. Thank you for the breadth of topics that we've covered. We look forward to seeing you with Ray on Friday afternoon.
I'll be there.
Okay.
See you then.
All the best, my friend. And coming up later today at 2:00 this afternoon, the always worth waiting for Scott Ritter. Judge Napolitano for Judging Freedom.